Hello interwebs and welcome to my channel. So for today, there has been an interesting rumor / development for Star Trek Discovery Season 3 that I have to talk about. I usually normally don't do these sort of news videos, rumor videos, but this is something that I just can't pass up and I gotta discuss. So it was just recently rumored today from DiscussingFilm.com that Star Trek Discovery Season 3 will be casting a non-binary character for its upcoming third season. I'll say Season 3 twice. So again, this is rumor, but according to the details, this character will be named Adria? Adria, all capital in the document that was released by Discussing Films. This character is, quote, described as incredibly intelligent and self-confident. They have a self-assurance well beyond their years. And they are also looking to cast someone over the age of 18 to play a character of 16, which personally upsets me because I would have loved to audition for this part because I've always dreamed of being on Star Trek, but it's okay. I'll just settle for directing an episode of Star Trek. That is legitimately my dream. If I ever direct an episode of Star Trek, I will know that I have achieved all my life goals and that I can pass on feeling fulfilled. But enough about me. Back to this non-binary character. So that's basically all the information that we have on this character right now. And again, this is rumor, so there's no specifics on this character. One would also have to assume that unless they were part of the Discovery crew, which is possible because there were a lot of characters on the Discovery, though I doubt there were any 16-year-olds on the Discovery, that more than likely this will be a 33rd century character, someone who is from the 33rd century. You know, that may not be for certain, like maybe there's an even further time jump where like maybe crew members of the Discovery have had children together or things like that, but I would place hard bets on this being a 33rd century character because Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is going to be set in the 33rd century. So there are a ton of reasons why, if this rumor turns out to be true, I am super excited for that. First and foremost, this goes part and parcel with Star Trek's main mission of showcasing new life and the diversity and infinite combinations. Star Trek has always been a show about showing more diverse people on front of the screen and actually showing them in active roles. Now, this isn't the first time that we've seen non-binary characters at all in Star Trek. In fact, we saw them, a race of non-binary characters in the episode The Outcast, and they were kind of as much as I love that episode, it is talking about sort of like queer issues and trans issues, though trans issues non-specifically, and I've done a video on that, so check that video out. That episode played with non-binary characters as if it was like, oh, look at this cool sci-fi concept that never actually would exist in humanity. Non-gendered aliens? Isn't that weird? And, you know, it was made in the early 90s, so awareness of non-binariness and trans issues wasn't super prescient, and not to give them a complete pass on botching some aspects of that, but it also, you know, you have to take it part and parcel with the time. So we have seen non-binary characters in Star Trek, and I hope with this character that it is a human non-binary character, or at least a non-binary character who is from a race that is either bigendered or gendered. I mean, like Andorians have 4 genders, as we learn in the novels. So just a character who comes from a gendered race who has come out as non-binary. I think that is very important to this character. I mean, a lot of times non-binary characters are played, like I said, as some sort of like, look at how alien they are, or like robots are sometimes seen as non-binary. You could even, I mean, Data was clearly classified as male, and Ariam from Star Trek Discovery was also classified as female, and I guess she was human as well. But you could also argue to a degree that Data could be a metaphor for non-binary. I know that's super stretching it because he was played as male for the whole series, but an argument could be made. If they go with this non-binary character, I really hope that it is a character who is human, and we can explore what it means to be non-binary in a binary culture. Now, I also hope that by the 33rd century that this character being non-binary wouldn't be considered radically new or, oh my gosh, this is so alien and different, and that the focus is on this character being non-binary. I just hope the character just happens to be non-binary, and that their non-binariness plays into some things, as a lot of characters on Star Trek Discovery, they're sort of in between feelings on things, like Spock's whole thing in Season 2 is being between logic and emotion, and same thing with, you know, Michael Burnham or Saru being like predator and prey, just having this sort of like in-between feelings, and non-binary fits into that. I hope that this character's non-binariness plays an important role in their decision-making and their viewpoint on the world, but doesn't necessarily become the focus of their entire storyline. It's all about them being non-binary. So, and I trust Star Trek Discovery to do that. Particularly because we've seen it before already with the gay characters on Star Trek Discovery, Stamets and Culber, who both are gay, and their gayness informs their characters quite clearly in a few scenes, but it is never the most prominent feature about them. You could argue that a little bit with the fact that their relationship is pretty much their main storyline, especially in Season 2, but I would argue that it's still not played as like, look, they're gay, it's just, look, they're in a relationship, and that's a perfectly legitimate thing to talk about. So I hope that sort of thread continues with this show. That Star Trek is always about talking about prescient issues of the day, but it also is talking about it through metaphor rather than explicitly saying that this is the thing going on, so that it normalizes people. I mean, look at characters like Uhura on the original Star Trek show. Uhura was a black woman in a time when seeing a black woman on screen was very taboo, especially in a role that she had, a very prominent role. I mean, I think she was like 3rd or 4th in charge of the ship, and she was clearly on the bridge in an equal position, like an equal chance to move up and grow within Starfleet, which was, again, super radical for the time. But they never really drew attention to that fact that she was a black woman on the bridge. It was talked about elsewhere, outside of the show, but within the show, it just was what it was. But clearly the show also did have a lot of episodes talking about race through metaphor. And we've seen that throughout all of Star Trek's history. And even Star Trek Discovery has talked about that before. Like my discussion on neurodivergency in the character of Spock. Check out a previous video I did on that. Hawking my wares, as it were. The other interesting thing about this character that we can glean is that they are 16 years old, which I find super fascinating. That could go many different ways, and a lot of the time when it's interesting because we so rarely see non-binary characters on television at the moment. Most of the time we're just starting to see a lot more trans characters appear, and non-binary can be considered trans or not depending on the person and how they feel about their identity. But typically with trans characters that we see on TV, they're very binary characters. They're either a trans woman or a trans man. Just clearly have a distinct gender that they're portraying, but not non-binary. I think the only non-binary character that instantly comes to mind is Asia Kate Dillon's character from Billions. There probably are a few more that I am blanking on the top of my head, but that is the one that I can just think of just instantaneously in popular culture. Overall, not that many. And in those cases, we get adults in that role who are very sure in their non-binary identity, but adults. And what I find interesting about the 16-year-old is they're described as very self-assured and very confident, which reads to me that they probably are very self-assured and very confident in their non-binary identity, which is awesome because you can tell a story about a 16-year-old growing up and being non-binary without, again, the focus being on, oh my gosh, I'm coming out, what do I do, how do I talk about it, things like that. Now, that might be the story they go with, and I wouldn't hate that. I certainly think we need to see stories of non-binary people discovering that they are non-binary. I think there's a lot of stuff that goes into learning that you're non-binary that isn't even part of the trans experience necessarily. So I think that that's a worthwhile discussion. But again, going back to Star Trek, I hope that that's not the main focus. Anyways, I've just overanalyzed a very brief, like 3-paragraph article for you, but I'm just very excited about this development, and I'm curious to hear what all of you have to say and think about it. Also, what do you think about these types of news videos? I've been mulling over doing more regular weekly videos through on my YouTube channel, like doing 2 or 3 videos a week as opposed to the one that I release on Friday, just to help build my audience, grow things more, and also have more chance to discuss certain topics. There's a lot of topics that I want to talk about I kind of missed because I just released one on Friday. And partially that's due to me trying not to overwhelm myself and do too much and then kind of get depressed and overwhelmed and then stop doing things. But I think I'm at a place where I can handle that right now, doing a little bit more on my channel, especially if it's a little bit more like this where it's just discussion. I sit down, talk to you guys, and less produced. I'll still do the more produced videos on Friday, but have a little bit more like looser discussion-based videos throughout the week. But let me know what you think. Do you like this type of video? I did a similar one for talking about J.K. Rowling the other day, so check those out. And also check out my latest video that I also released today, which is about Avengers female empowerment moment and how I thought that that failed. Check that out. And if you like this video and anything else on my channel, give my channel a subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And if you want to even make these videos even better, consider giving to my Patreon page. But outside of all of that, I hope all of you enjoyed this video, and until next time, live long and prosper.